Yo, what up YouTube? Topaz Yates back with another live from the underground, and here we go in on particular topics that's going on in the music industry, man. And today, not gonna be on too long, as we're gonna talk about that NLE Choppa in the Trap on the 85 South comedy show that just streamed not that long ago. And it wasn't a very long one, and this isn't one of my favorite blogs type interview type shows that's on the internet, you dig, but it's very entertaining, and it's a different direction that you see from most people, because it's not like millions of dollars worth of game, you dig. Like, it's more of just comedy personalities bouncing off each other, and it shows you a whole different direction of the particular artist. See, this is something that my cousin put me on, and I enjoy it whenever they do like the freestyles with the fans and with the people in the building, and they start bouncing off of each other and they get the music jumping. Like, that's some of my favorite stuff. But in terms of just interviews and bringing people into the trap, not really, because it's not like they don't ask the most pertinent questions, you feel me? They try to do more jokes than anything, but it has its own lane, and I respect it. I respect the grind. As DC Young Fly, he reminds me of like in his prime Chris Tucker, but a lot more edge to it, and he's not going to turn away from the comedy game as Chris Tucker did, you feel me? But in this particular episode, they brought in NLE Choppa for an interview, as this seems to be the promotion for Me vs. Me, and it feels like it was filmed a minute ago, because he had like exclusive footage of the Genius Kanye documentary that he was talking like it was new on this, but yet now we've all seen it by now. We've seen the entire thing. So, I mean, and that's the way that these things tend to go, you dig? Like, you go in and you'll go ahead and do an interview with these people, and there's no guarantee when they're going to release it. Like, typically when I do stuff, I try to release it that night. I try to release it regardless, like that night, that next day, somewhere in between. But a lot of these bigger productions with more people, and they have their own set schedules and things that they're doing, from the Breakfast Club to 85 South to $1 million worth of game. Like, you at Drink Champs and all these people, man, you never know when they're actually going to put the stuff out there, because it's on their timeline, and they the ones who made it so that you could come in and do an interview and all that stuff, even if it kind of messes up, because that Me vs. Me came out a minute ago. Like, this is something that should have been dropped, but they just dropped the ball. But whatever. But so, some aspects of this interview I definitely did enjoy, because he was speaking some reality, some real stuff that people need to know. Like how he's saying, yo, the best song that he wrote, he was sober. It was the Shotta flow. He was sober, he didn't freestyle, he wrote it all, he took his time and did it right. He didn't think that it would hit what it did hit, where he had a homie saying, yo, this is probably gonna hit 100 million views, and he's saying, I'm looking at him like he's off some powder or something. Like, man, you ain't gonna believe that. And it actually did. And that's something that you see a lot of people that's like grinding hard, doing a lot of content, putting stuff out there. You underestimate exactly how far some particular things can go, and you do need somebody on the outside looking in to tell you whether the joint has that kind of potential in some cases. But for the most part, it seems as though NLE Choppa got his head on straight, focused on work all the time over everything else. So it doesn't quite matter, because the next joint that he does is going to try to be his best. But the main thing I want to talk about with that in particular was, like, look, sadly, too many people of this generation and all the previous generations, like when they first came out saying Biggie Smalls, I don't write anything, I freestyle. Then that flipped to Jay-Z, I don't write anything, I freestyle. And then from that, Lil Wayne said, yo, I don't write anything, I freestyle. All of this stuff has built a whole foundation of, okay, if you actually write and take care of your stuff and actually focus on your craft, you're getting frowned upon to a degree because you taking too long. You're not putting in the work that you need to do. Like Tupac wrote his stuff But the way that he did it was unique in terms of, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and write this song to this beat. We're gonna do this quick. The last thing that you say is going to be the hook of this joint. We put that together, throw it out there, next song. Or not even throw it out there, just hold on to it, next song. That's how he built up so much material that after he died, as they were saying in this interview, you still see new interviews, you still hear new verses, you still see a bunch of new stuff, and it's because of the amount of work that he did well before he was 25, just based off of that mentality that I just showed you. But there is nothing wrong with sitting down, taking your time, writing your songs, writing your stuff the right way. Like, you ain't got to be Dr. Dre. Writing one song will take you 20 years to release. You ain't got to do that. But, see, writing is a skill. You feel me? Writing is something that you see in the movies. To make a movie script, you understand how many different variations of a movie script people do. Like, they write it, they first come up with the outline of what they want to do, what they want to say. Then they write the script. And then they go back and rewrite the script after they already went through it and like, okay, I think I could have done better. I think some elements of this was not done right. I think some of these quotes that these people were saying was wrong. All right, they rewrote the script. Send it to somebody else. Somebody else reread the master of the script and all that stuff. Give them notes. Maybe go back and rewrite it again. After you rewrite it, polish it, create the final draft of it, then you can go ahead out there and shop it to these individuals who might potentially buy it. And then they're gonna come back with their notes. And if they're paying a certain amount of money, you gonna go ahead and change these things. Like, because in certain movies, like the new Black Panther that's about to drop, well, that may come out sooner rather than later, like they had to change the script because, of course, our brother died. And then the person who was supposed to be the next up for Black Panther, I'm not trying to give no spoilers or nothing for the insiders, but this person ended up like messing up in social media and they're getting frowned upon visually in the mainstream, which I don't find any issue with what they was doing. Honestly, I support them for what they was doing to a degree. But because it's a massive corporation like Disney, they had to go back to the screenwriters, to the actual writers of the script, and say, okay, we need you to change some of this and this and this because she could, or this person, or he, or whoever it was, this person need to have a lesser role because of how badly they're acting up right now. How many times you have to rewrite something before it hits the mainstream, before it hits the $100 million mark? It's ridiculous. As Ryan Coogler, how many times he had to rewrite scripts. Writing is an important facet of everything that you do, whether it's writing songs, whether it's writing an album, whether it's writing a script. Writing is writing, it's just different formats, but the better you are at it would pretty much equal how many times you'll take something and rewrite it. You dig? And you will find enjoyment in doing that, in making some of the best stuff. Like, not every time will the first draft be the best draft, but sometimes it will be. It really just depends on how you feeling at the time, but yet going back, adding more, making it better. The more you know, the more you add into something that you're passionate about, the better it's going to be. Take your time and write. You will thank me for it. You will thank the fact that you did it whenever you piece together some of the best work that you've ever did. The next thing I wanted to talk about is, like, they made a big emphasis about it on the show. Like, he was at age 15, like he's only 19-year-old now, and he looked like a grown man, and that's because, like, the stress take a young dude, give him an old face. The grind, he looks older than what he is, but he is legitimate 19. And he's out there on the grind, and he's been on the grind, building up himself, building up his whole identity since 15. Bro, having someone to help guide you, or having that kind of focus and drive at age 15 is unseen. Like my nephew, I try to show him certain elements, certain things that he can do to get better at basketball, get better at the game, get better at financial, getting better at the stock market, letting him understand what all this is at a super young age. Like, I think he's only like 9 or 8. So I'm hoping that he can compete with these individuals once he start getting up there with the mentality to do it like this individual is doing. But at age 15, he came up with the NLE brand, where the NLE stands for No Love Entertainment, and he was pressing up t-shirts, pressing up hoodies and things of that nature, and these press-ups were trash. Like, clearly he was doing heat press with like the super wax stuff that once you throw it into the washing machine, all of it falls apart. But we all gotta start somewhere. Not all of us have the massive amounts of money in order to go ahead and put out the high quality merch that we want to, or to buy the actual machines. I actually had a job where I was working at one spot where we would press up t-shirts and stuff like, but we would use the actual ink press where you take the ink manually and then swipe it down off of a what are they called? I forget what it's called, but they actually had the machines where you use the actual ink and you manually put the ink onto each shirt, but yet they made it so smooth that it's like a machine that you can push down the ink one time, move it over, next shirt, push down the ink, next shirt, push down the ink, next shirt, and that's how you mass produce these things. But he was doing this at 15, selling his brand, making his own merch, selling his merch to individuals that wanted to rock with him. They're claiming to be part of NLE, but yet that was like his brand and the rap group that he was coming up with that he honestly, clearly doesn't really rock with like that no more. But that's the type of grind that you must have at an early age to get off and get off the ground and get on your feet at this young age, to get the recognition on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Now, they was talking about TikTok a bunch, and I just started my own TikTok, Topaz Yates on TikTok. I've been posting all of the shorts that you see here on YouTube. I've been posting those directly on TikTok too, and the algorithm, yeah, it's like one of the best out there. Like, out the gate. If you do it right, you understand what you're doing, you're gonna get views, people gonna start rocking with you. It's just, there's no money in it. There's no like actual ad revenue. There's none of that stuff. But if you're gonna build up something, if you're gonna build it up the right way, then that's where a lot of the eyes are of the youth. It's all on TikTok, it's all on IG. YouTube still got it. Like, that's why I'm still here, you dig? I rock with YouTube. There's a lot of versatility that I can do with this channel, but like, you have to build up your identity, build up who you are across all platforms where eyes are at, and learn how to use them all, which is somewhat important. Now, one key moment that they said on this interview as well was, when you reach your dream, the dream that you had at a young age of what you want to do, once you reach that dream, you only just realize what's available to you. Like, your dream is ultimately going to be limited. Like, one of my dreams always was to make it somewhere into the music industry, regardless of what it was, regardless of if it's doing shows, being the artist, being the podcaster, the interviewer, doesn't matter. Put me up in there. That's always been one of my dreams, and hey man, look at me where I'm at now, 2 million views and all that stuff. I'm cool. Like, I could be so much bigger if these algorithms could stop messing me up. But as I see, all these things that I'm doing across all of these spaces, there's so much more that I can do. That's why I started doing the gaming. That's why I started doing other things that you guys won't need to know yet until it gets launched. But ultimately, once you in there, once you get the audience, once you get the eyes on you, you realize how many different directions in which you can go with it, how many different ways you can make money, how many different ways you can establish yourself without having to go through the mainstream and be the puppets that they want you to be. You can do so many different things, and ownership is key, as we're seeing through a bunch of these different platforms, from 85 South Comedy Show to Joe Budden to Drink Champs. All of these people are building up their own brands, coming up with their own ownership, not being defined by the platform that they happen to be on, able to sell these things to different platforms and make more money and go on where you go. Like having your own and being ownership of your own brands, regardless of its merch, regardless of its programming, regardless of anything. That's the direction in which all of entertainment, all that life is ultimately going, and you have to be about yours in order to have something. Instead, we got a lot of people who are just, persistent consumers. We as a people, black people out here, we are put in a position where we are permanent consumers, where all we do is buy up everything that all these other people, all these billion-dollar industries, all these people sell to us, from Nike to Jordan brand to Google to Apple. We just buy up all of this expensive stuff, but yet we don't have anything of our own to sell to others. We don't have all of our own brands. But I like the fact that a lot of these bloggers, podcasters, all these individuals are building up their own. And this is what you as an individual rapper on the underground trying to build up, something you need to take note of. You need something of your own. You need something that you are in full control of, that no one can tell you what you can or cannot do with it, and you got to find a way to monetize that. Once you get that, then the world opens up to you. You can do whatever it is you want to, and you won't be forced into any box. You won't be forced to do anything. You just make money the way you deem to make money. Another element of this interview that I felt was pretty cool is when they started talking about the entertainment field, talking about, okay, what is the purpose of entertainment, regardless of if you're on stage as a comedy performer, as these individuals are, or if you're on stage as a rapper like NLE Choppa is. Like, the whole point of this is to give an individual a feeling, whether it's to be super hyped, whether it's to be like laughing, regardless of what that feeling is that brings that person to you, to buy a ticket, to buy your merchandise, to do anything. That's how you got to do it. Like, you got to bring that feeling to these individuals. But yet, just because you make jokes all the time doesn't mean that you as an individual is like laughing all the time. Like, you could be hurt, going through your own issues, depressed, but yet your job is to make someone else laugh. And that's something that the fans and stuff, they don't get. They only come to see you because you seem to be funny on Instagram. You seem to be funny on everything that you do. So therefore, they think that you're just funny all the time. When no, life is real. Life gets serious. Like, if you've seen the Kevin Hart TV show, I forget the name of the Hold up. Yeah, the True Story. If you've seen True Story, that is a great depiction of this whole conversation. Like, Kevin Hart being the biggest comedy sensation in real life and in this show. Like, he's being the biggest comedy sensation, but yet his life is falling apart as he's being a part of like murders and a lot of stuff, like people dying around him. He has to hide all of this stuff for his people and for himself, and he got to cut and burn bridges. And the days that he be going through the worst of it is the days that fans and stuff want to come up to him and try to be all cool, and he flips out on them. And when he flips out on them, he gets on TMZ and people be mad at him and stuff like that, dude. That's the reality of what it is when you become super famous and all that, because life and life's problems are never going to go away, but yet your best work is what people are going to try to remember you by. Like when our brother the Black Panther, what's his name? Hold up. Chadwick Boseman, forgive me, rest in peace, brother. Brother Chadwick Boseman. No one knew that he was sick. No one knew that he was on the edge of passing away. Why? because at the moment he was the biggest black actor there was out there. Everybody want to roll up on him with the Wakanda forever, annoying him like that to the point that Killmonger, Michael B. Jordan's like, no, shake my hand. You're not going to Wakanda forever me. Which, hey, that was him being part of the whole thing too. Him being part of the whole image of Killmonger. Killmonger wasn't with none of that. But at the end of the day, like, we don't know what's going on in these individuals' personal lives. Just Boseman was like the nicest person of all time that would go out there and be about his work, do things for all the kids because he realized how special he was to the world as a black individual, black actor, black excellence, not only through Black Panther, but other movies like Ma Rainey, The Bottom, there was a bunch of other movies that I seen from him too that was rather dope. Wasn't he in forget it. But ultimately, that's the thing, man. When you get into the game, when you get into entertainment, nobody cares about your personal life, which sucks. You could be going through all kinds of things, but you're here for a job. If you're here to make people laugh, you gotta be there to make people laugh. You can't have a fallout like Kramer and go on a rant, a racist rant. You can't do that. You got to, if you're there to tell jokes, you gotta tell jokes. If you're there to perform, and I do respect things that individuals do, like say T.I. When they threw a bottle at T.I. when he was on stage, he cut the show. Like, yo, whoever threw that, you come down here, get knocked out, bro. You ain't about to disrespect me out here. We gonna stop this show till we get this person who did that. You do that, yes. Just like what Travis Scott should have did. He should have stopped the show if he seen that people were being sick and all that stuff, people getting trampled. Should have stopped the show, making sure that they get the help. But yet, you're there to put on a show, though. Eventually, you're going to keep the show going as long as it's not a traumatic event like that. You feel me? But it doesn't matter what's going on in your personal life. If you're depressed, if you're feeling anxious, none of that stuff, man. Nobody cares. You got to go out here. You got to make this money. You got to be successful. And the last thing I want to talk about from this interview, as I said, it was a shorter interview, one, and two, because it was a shorter interview and they had more like comedy where they was talking about a bunch of nonsense. There was very little like actual gems to take from it, but it was still cool whenever you did get a few gems, like how like NLE Choppa got his mind on right, man, when he's saying like, yo, I want to, he goes hard every time, all day. He's not really enjoying everything that he comes across and doing all of this stuff. And it's mainly because he's trying to establish a foundation so that he can walk away and be good. And that's the mentality you want to have. Like, it's something that I always said for years. I tell people, yo, you got to do the grinding now so that you can shine later, so that you'll be taken care of later. All the grinding, you want to knock that out when you're young. Hopefully you can pop. If you don't pop, that grinding got to continue up until that point. But you got to grind nonstop all the time, promote all the time nonstop. And yes, by doing this, you do begin to lose the enjoyment of it. You don't really get to have fun with, like when I do shows and stuff, I've been doing shows up and down the East Coast for a minute. Doing like this thing called Afropop. It's a performance, it's Afro-Caribbean music, but I help put it together and all that stuff, and we travel from Atlanta, Miami, South Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina, that's the base. We've gone north. I didn't go to Chicago, but the whole brand went to Chicago. LA was in the talks before the pandemic and all that stuff, but we would go on tours for like whole summers. You feel me? And it would be crazy. Like in one weekend, we would go do a show in Charlotte, then go down to Atlanta, then straight from Atlanta, go up to Greensboro, North Carolina, then come back to Charlotte in 1 3-day weekend. You feel me? So much work that you really didn't have time to sit down and enjoy, go out and eat at some of these good restaurants, good places that's out there in these places that have cuisine that you've never tasted before. Hardly ever get a chance to actually enjoy that, enjoy the fact that you're in a different place. Like, you're always gotta get up, gotta move, gotta put this equipment together, gotta do this show, talk to people, go ahead, pack stuff up, on the way back. That's the way that it went. Very little time to actually enjoy stuff. Nowadays, especially with the pandemic and things slowing down a lot, like the few times that we do shows still here in Charlotte, which is the base, as I said, the few times that we do shows here, I try to enjoy it a little bit more. I try to conversate with more people. I try to be around and like actually continue relationships that I have with these people, that they be work relationships, but yet they be super cool though. People that I respect, people that be doing their thing, DJing, people who be doing their thing on the business end, understanding more of all of this stuff, man. By me sitting back and like, I do my work, but I'm also enjoying the moment when I'm in the moment. It makes me realize that I live a life that very few actually do like that, but just not on the highest level. And it's important to enjoy your work. Find enjoyment in that work that's constant, that you have to move all the time. But as you move all the time, realize that it's fun to do that work. I'd much rather be doing all of that than working at Target or working at an Amazon work center, which that sucks. I'd rather be doing something that actually helps me meet people, get paid, and just enjoy life all the way around, dog. So you can enjoy the life at the same time while working the life, because there's little details and all that stuff that's within the work of it that I find fun. Like, I actually do find fun breaking down and putting up the actual backdrops and things of the shows. Like, we'll put up TVs and then interlink the TVs to make it into one big video that's getting played while everybody's performing, or we set up the lights, so we set up the sound outside and inside with wireless receivers, and set up the mixes. You gotta learn how to work mixes and learn how to work sound and all of this stuff, dude. Like, that stuff is fun to me. I find that more fun than talking to people who really ain't got nothing to talk about. You dig? Like, I find enjoyment in all of this. And as a grinder, as someone who will work in the game, somebody who will work and do what you want to do in life, you have to find that level of enjoyment in something about what you do. And in terms of like being in the music industry and things like that, man, as a rapper, you have to find your own enjoyment of being in your zone of writing your own raps, of recording. Like, that's where a lot of people find their enjoyment. They like to be in the lab, and a lot of people like to BS, but being in the lab, taking your time, writing your stuff, drinking, smoking, whatever, in your own mentality to put out the hits, that's where a lot of artists find their enjoyment. On top of, you know, you get a chance to be around the beautiful women. If you're on the highest level, you get a chance to be around these artists that are buzzing and doing their own moves out here. Like, there's a lot of elements to the grind that you can enjoy while you're doing it. So when they saying like, oh, sometimes you need to sit back and just enjoy what the life, no, I don't agree. That's something that older people that have reached a certain level in the game can say. Well, that's what they do say when they ultimately become, you know, lax about it, when they're no longer really pushing forward. But when you have a dream and things that you're trying to push towards to be great, when you're trying to be one of the greatest to ever do it, you can never be satisfied. You can never like truly just sit down and enjoy it. Like, when you sit back and watch the Bulls when they went on the last three-peat and all that, you see that they really wasn't like having the maximum enjoyment of going through trying to three-peat. They were working. They celebrated after they won. Celebrate after you win. You ain't got to sit down and enjoy it as you go, but you find enjoyment in the work. When you go show up at the venue, when the Bulls will show up at the venue and put in the work day in, day out, get the chemistry together, learn the plays, learn how to compete, learn how to play against certain teams, learn the positives and negatives of, say, a Kobe Bryant or somebody that they're going to play against. That type of stuff is where they find enjoyment. Like Tom Brady, what made him the GOAT is the fact that he enjoyed sitting back, like watching tape and breaking down what they're going to do against particular teams. Just like Peyton Manning, they love to sit down and watch the tape. It's not being in the game where they found the most enjoyment. They found the most enjoyment in the preparation leading up to get to the game, because there's a lot more preparation in order to get into the game than there is being in the game. When you can find enjoyment in the preparation, when you find enjoyment in what you do, then you gonna be straight. But as I said, very short show today. I'm only gonna do half an hour or so, and it's mainly because, you know, it was a short interview. There wasn't a lot of gems in there, and I'm just going to do, I might be doing these a little more often depending on the reception, you dig, because I really do like to watch all of these. That's how I get a lot of information. It's just I don't really talk about it like that, but maybe I'll do more depending on how people perceive these reactions. But it is what it is. It's definitely a good, I like 85 South show. You guys should subscribe to them. You should watch some of this stuff. There'll be some gems that be said here and there. But I appreciate everybody who came through, watched this, man. I appreciate everybody who's here, man. Love y'all. In a minute. Catch y'all next time.